we have arrived in Dubai, and with that, our 19-day sailing from Rome via Palermo, Athens, Salalah, Muscat, Doha, Abu Dhabi has come to an end. Let me tell you how this last day, this last morning on the ship went. It was an absolute shit show. I'm not going to lie. It was quite bizarre. But we're going to start very positive, and that if you are ever on this ship on Costa Toscana, or maybe next year on Costa Smeralda, you are going to be arriving into Dubai very, very early morning. Please get up very, very early, at least 2 hours before the ship is supposed to arrive in the port, because that's exactly what I did. I woke up at like 6 a.m., went outside deck 18, and I watched the sun rise over Dubai, over the Palm Island, as we sail literally right next to the Palm. It was absolutely magical, amazing, amazing, $1,000,000 view. And as I was watching it, I was like, yeah, this is the highlight from the cruise. And of course, from that moment, everything just, falls to pieces. And that has to do with the debarkation process, because this was such a horrid debarkation process, not just for me, but for literally the whole ship. I was literally thinking like, wow, we had such a great journey, and now everybody is going to leave with this idea of like, oh my God, never again. And so I'm not really sure what happened. Obviously, originally the debarkation follows a very set procedure, right? The day before, you get your tags, you put them on your suitcase. Before midnight, you put your suitcase in front of the door, and then when you debark, or leave the ship, then you will be able to pick up your suitcase and go. And so we arrive into Dubai. We have to leave our room at 9 a.m. And my debarkation slot is at 11:15, which is a little bit annoying because it's like half a day almost that I'm just waiting around. But it is what it is. And I'm trying to answer this question in my head as I'm waiting on the ship. Like, should I leave earlier? Really? Is it only just this? The suitcases of the current people in the current slot. It goes by color, and then within the color by letter. And then I just notice how it just doesn't move. People aren't leaving. There are no announcements. And then at some point there is an announcement, and then ultimately what it comes down to is that there is some sort of a delay. And the delay, and then I start to check. I think from the debarkation process as a whole, we are almost an hour behind schedule. Even though we were in Dubai on time, right? It was such a cluster. I'm not going to swear, but it was really horrible. So luckily, I am going to be spending a few days in Dubai, so I have some flexibility. But it's causing quite some pressure for people because, what's happening? No communication. So very, very, very slowly, the first groups are able to leave the ship, and then again for a long time nothing. And at some point I'm just like, okay, I'm just gonna risk it. I am just going to leave the ship and see if I can somehow get my suitcase. And so of course Dubai cruise terminal is brand new, and I've cruised already twice this year from this terminal with other cruise lines who have a different system to Costa. So when I arrive into the, let's call it arrival hall, the baggage hall, I notice firstly an intense amount of people. It's like nobody has even left yet. The people that left the ship were called to debark like 2 hours before me. We're all still there. And yeah, the best way to explain is just that they were handing out the suitcases one by one on an individual basis. So somebody would bring 4 suitcases on a little cart, and then basically it was like, yeah, and whose suitcase is this? You were not allowed to pick your own suitcase, or it all had to be done by Costa staff, and it just moved so slow. So then, from the moment I was in the let's put it like this: I left the ship on my original debarkation slot, even though we were at that point already well over an hour behind schedule. But I thought, you know what, I'm going to risk it. Then, once I got to the luggage area, I had to wait another hour and a half until I finally got my suitcase. So that's already like a 2.5 hour delay on an 11:30 or 11 something debarkation slot. So my whole morning into the afternoon now is kind of gone. And there were so many, I would literally say 1,000 other people that weren't so lucky as I. And I would almost argue that the reason why I got so lucky in some ways is that I was just tracking my suitcase through an AirTag. I could see it was like a couple hundred meters away, and then at some point the AirTag or the Find My iPhone thing on Apple changed to it's with you. So I was like, okay, so it has to be close. And then I went back into the ginormous crowd and this ginormous like pile of suitcases that was like roped off, and all this Costa staff yelling because people were trying to pull their suitcases. So all in all, it was a huge mess. So my advice would be, yeah, let's just not, you know what I mean? You can also just keep your suitcase. That's probably what I'm going to do for my next Costa cruise. But yeah, so that was the debarkation. And then I used the Kareem app to get a taxi. So there's free Wi-Fi in the terminal. Do yourself a favor, download Kareem, which is like the local Uber. And that's how you get a taxi. Because again, there's 10 taxis and 4,000 people. Because next to us was Aida Prima, which also holds a few thousand people. So yeah, it was a little bit of a mess this morning, and that's a really, it's not, I mean, obviously I can get, sorry, again, very raw and real this. I can get over all of this, but I can also imagine that many people would be like, yeah, it leaves a sour taste in the mouth. You know what I mean? So that being said, guys, the sailing comes to an end. And I hope you enjoyed. This was all a very real, raw kind of audio diary of, my experience on board Costa Toscana as we sail. I had a fantastic time. I cannot wait to board my next ship. It was really great. I met a lot of wonderful people. I met a lot of wonderful staff. That's definitely a benefit of these longer sailings. You really get to know at least some of the staff that you interact with on a daily basis. And that was really wonderful as well. So if you haven't already, hit subscribe. More content is coming your way. If you haven't checked out epiccruisedeals.com, you have to do that as well to make sure that you will always, moving forward, be paying the very best price for your cruise. And I will catch you in another episode really, really soon. Thanks for listening. Thanks for sailing with me from Rome to Dubai. And